I told my wife that she couldn't ground my son just because she wanted him to do a chore last minute when he already had plans to be somewhere else, and now that I've sided with my son, she thinks everyone in our house is going to lose respect for her. My son is 17. My wife and I also have 3 more boys. 2 are from before our marriage, but I'm legally their father now. They are all much younger than my son. My son is starting his senior year of high school next year and hoping to get an athletic scholarship. My son plans to spend all summer practicing. Yesterday my wife asked him to tidy up the living room and he said he was already on the way to the gym. She told him that he could go after tidying. He said he would do it when he got back and left without giving her time to reply. She sent him a text saying he is grounded, and then called me to let me know. I told her I would talk to him, but he wasn't grounded. She said he disrespected her, and I said we could and would have a conversation about that, but there would be no grounding. This is my last summer with my oldest child and an important summer, because he's trying to achieve something that can make or break his future. I'm not going to risk ruining either of those things unless it's something really serious. She was very upset. I texted my son that he wasn't grounded, but that we wanted to talk to him when he came home. He said okay and texted me when he was leaving the gym to let us know he was on the way. When he got back we sat down and talked. He said he didn't mind helping out, but that he was a busy person with a busy schedule and wasn't at our beck and call. He said if he is asked in advance to do something, he will, but he isn't available to us at the drop of a hat. My wife didn't like that, but I said that was fine. I asked him if he would be willing to clean the living room, and he said he would after taking a shower. While he was in the shower my wife and I got into a big fight. She said I undermined her and all the kids will respect her less. I said she isn't my oldest mother and final say goes to me with him. Any of our other kids and I wouldn't do what I did, but she's not his mom. She was very angry I said that and said she needed space from me. We have only talked as much as necessary today, and I'm getting worried. We are supposed to be at a Memorial Day barbecue in an hour, and she just asked me if I could stay home while she took the boys without me. My oldest has plans with friends and already left. I am wondering if I'm the jerk here. My son always said that he would respect my wife, but she's not his mother. He's never cussed her, shouted at her or what have you. I think it's fair that we stay consistent with her not being his mom. Maybe I'm being a bad husband. Update 1. My wife and the kids got home about an hour ago. After we put the kids to bed, we talked. I asked her, after 5 years of never even attempting to be any sort of mother to my oldest, why she all of a sudden wanted to step into that role. She said she wasn't trying to parent him, that she was just trying to manage the household, and he wasn't cooperating. I said that wasn't a reason to react the way she did, and he was cooperating by offering to do it later. She said she was overwhelmed and needed it done then so she didn't have to think about it. I told her it's very important to me that this last summer be a good one, because I don't know when I'll see him again after this. I mentioned how I'm anxious that I won't be able to attend his big events because he might not want her there, and I can't abandon my wife to travel without her. As I was talking, really rambling more than anything, her eyes lit up. She smiled at me. I thought it was so weird, because I hadn't said anything positive and a moment ago she'd been upset. I asked what was going on. She said nothing. She then asked me if I meant that. I was confused and asked which part. She asked if I'd choose her over my son. I said I'd never choose anything over my children. She said, but if he invited you to visit him and not me, you wouldn't go? I said I couldn't do that to her, it wouldn't be right. As a husband, I can't just abandon her unless it was an emergency or something. Obviously I don't want an emergency, so you can see why I'm stressed about this possible future where I go years without seeing my son. She said she understood and it wouldn't happen again, but the whole interaction was so strange. One moment she was upset and defensive. The next moment she was kissing me and telling me I was going to have a great summer and everything would be okay. The whole thing was so odd. I asked her how the barbecue was and she said it was alright, but it would have been better if I was there, which I had no idea how to respond to. Anyway, I'm typing this in the bathroom. I don't know what to make of this situation. Half of me thinks this is a resolution and I can put it behind me, and maybe the other half is too paranoid from reading so many comments, but that half thinks this is just a symptom of a bigger problem. Either way, my wife is happy, so I'm better off than I was before, I suppose. Commenter. I think you should really ask yourself. Why wouldn't your son want her to attend life events after he moves out? Why is she happy and accepting that you wouldn't travel to see your son if she couldn't go along? And that you would choose her over your son? It sounds like there are major issues between them that you've been ignoring, intentionally or not, and this doesn't sound resolved at all to me. Update 2. I talked to my son today. I asked him if something had happened between the two of them prior to the above incident. I said I wasn't looking for someone to blame, just to figure out the reason for the sudden shift. He said there was one weird incident, but he didn't know if it was related and wasn't sure how I would react to hearing about it. I asked him to tell me and promised I wouldn't have a negative reaction. Here I have to provide context I didn't think was relevant in the original post, but turns out is. I'm going to give an overview that isn't detailed because there was a lot of sexist language in the comments of the first post, and I don't want to read any racial slurs. My ex-wife and I both grew up in bilingual homes as members of a minority culture, and when we got married our plan was to eventually move to our homeland once we were more stable financially. As I grew in my career, I felt less and less connected to our culture. I realized I didn't want to go anywhere. I like it in America. When my father died, my ex thought it was the perfect time to leave, that we should sell the house I inherited from him and use the proceeds to fund the move. I said I didn't want to go anymore. That's why we divorced and why she moved overseas. 4 years later, I met my current wife. By that time, I wasn't engaging with the community I grew up with in any way other than facilitating my son's involvement with it. My wife knows my heritage, but it's never been an issue because I've essentially abandoned it. So here's what my son told me happened last week. He was sitting with my 4-year-old, my wife and I shared biological child, and teaching him a few words of our language. My wife came into the room, saw him, called over the 4-year-old, took him by the hand and led him out of the room without a single word to my son. He said he could see the anger in her even though she didn't say anything to him. I had trouble seeing the connection between the two events, but I decided to talk to her about it. She'd been in a great mood all day since we made up last night, so I thought she'd be okay with talking. When I asked about the incident, she took a long time to answer. Finally, she said that she never agreed to marry a word for someone of my background, and that when she saw that, she became afraid that our son, who is only 4, would grow up thinking he was a same word, because oldest son is, and that's confusing for a child. I was kind of thrown, to be honest. I said I understood her point, but what is the harm in him learning a few words of another language? It's doubtful he'll remember them, and if he does, that's just a sweet connection between him and his grandparents. She said absolutely not. She said our kids are American and they're going to speak English, and she won't stand for my son teaching them that crap. I was really hurt by this response, but I didn't want to be a hypocrite. After all, this all started because she didn't keep our agreement not to try to parent my son. So she's entitled to expect me not to teach our kids about my background, because I explicitly told her I didn't care about that stuff anymore and wasn't a part of that community anymore. So I said okay. I said I just wish she had talked to me instead of lashing out at my son. She said she was sorry for doing that, and in the future if there was an issue like that she'd come tell me. I thanked her and she said she was glad it all got resolved. I guess I am too, but I feel a little disappointed that she feels so strongly about our son never learning about his heritage. His great-grandparents were immigrants with interesting stories, and maybe he won't ever care about that, but maybe one day he will care and want to know. I don't think that's so bad, but it isn't worth another fight.